God created mankind to reflect his nature and to manifest his glory. He wanted a family that he could love and commune with. And as a loving father, he longed for his children's heart to be closely knit to his. The Garden of Eden was a peaceful home for God's family, where Adam and Eve had everything they could ever want and need in abundance, including deep love from their Father and intimate connection with each other and with God. It was a beautiful paradise and a perfect life until Satan entered the scene. In his book, Healing the Orphan Spirit, Leif Heitland shares that Satan was there in the garden, watching through envious eyes. He was absorbing everything that he saw through an insecure heart. It probably drove Satan mad that his former Lord and King wanted children. He who had once been the ultimate insider in God's kingdom had been booted out of heaven and was now an outsider looking in. The devil watched as the happy family took a stroll in the Garden of Eden. In the cool of the day, they walked together, father, son, and daughter. Satan thought that he should have been invited to the party. But since he hadn't received a formal invitation, the only thing left for him to do was to crash the party and make everyone else as bitter and disappointed as he was. Satan's heart was wicked, and his thoughts were evil. They still are. He believed that he could thrive independently of God's love and sustenance. So he rebelled against God, and he was cast out of heaven, becoming the first orphan. Satan was full of hatred and resentment towards God, and he promised that he would devote his time on earth to creating darkness, death, and destruction in the lives of all of God's children. So he released the orphan spirit to the world, and it was activated in the hearts of both man and woman, and still is today. When Satan lost his home and the security of unconditional love from God, he was no longer privileged to experience the warmth, the stability, the provision, the guidance, joy, peace, or any of the abundant life that being in God's care offered him. And when we're afflicted by the orphan spirits, we live the exact same way, as if we're abandoned and homeless. We live overcome with fear, rejection, anxiety, and lack. We feel desolate and desperate as we struggle to survive in life without a father. Like wanderers in a barren land, we yearn to feel peace and satisfaction. And instead of a life of dependency and intimacy with God, we live in self-sufficiency, mistrust, and loneliness. Our thoughts are permeated with lies. We create division and chaos all around us. We hide from the truth. We justify our selfish feelings and our behaviors, and we try to solve our own problems without ever hearing the voice of our Father. We feel the full impact of fear and shame in our lives and even seek relief in our addictions. And instead of crying out for help and guidance from God in the midst of that, we attempt to find our own way out. But we end up sinking even deeper into the destructive cycle every single time. It's all a product of the orphan spirit. And we are in desperate need of freedom from its oppression. But we can't rid ourselves of its grip on us. We can't wish it, force it, or cast it out. It can only be healed. We need our Father's supernatural healing. It's only in God's presence where we experience the fullness of His love that we can be made whole again, where everything that He intended for us can be restored to its original state again. Like prodigal sons and daughters that we are, our daddy is waiting for us. He's prepared for our arrival. Our place of perfect peace and undying love. We are safe and secure in Him. We can rest in His arms and receive His abundant provision that meets every need and desire of our heart. But we must come home to our Father. And now is the perfect time. So stop for just a moment right where you are. Just quiet and still your mind. Connect with your heart. Invite the presence of your Father into your heart and spirit. Ask Him to show you what areas of your life are you settling for striving, struggling, and surviving. What areas are you living outside of Him? How are you rejecting His love and His favor? How are you feeling mistrust and disconnection from Him? Honestly and vulnerably confess those struggles to Him and ask Him to move deeply in your heart so that you can personally encounter the fullness of His love for you. Picture yourself coming home to the open arms of your Father. Open your heart to receive His unconditional love and acceptance, and live in abiding trust that He is pouring out His abundant blessings and favor on you as His beloved